A lot of questions on should you be filing for PPP forgiveness. Let's get into it. At the end of the day, on this PPP forgiveness, if you're self-employed, yours is pretty well automatic, assuming that your Schedule C is roughly or the same as when you got the PPP loan to now when you are getting your forgiveness. Probably no real reason for you to wait, because you're taking under the 24-week option your line 31 on Schedule C for 2019 divided by 12 times 2.5, which is the exact calculation made to get the PPP loan. Now, there are banks that are not taking applications. You've got to take a deep breath when I say that. It's shameful. I don't think that we're looking at 150,000 threshold of forgiveness. I don't see any automatic forgiveness. This is nothing new. I think if there's forgiveness, it's 21,000 or less. Why? Because that's the maximum that, in essence, a self-employed would qualify for, which is the max 100,000 on line 31 Schedule C divided by 12 times 2.5. There's still going to have to be something that we complete to say, I've done this, this, this. Maybe it's a check the box and sign and hand in. So there's still going to be some paperwork. If you have a haircut, there's going to still be some paperwork. I don't foresee them being overwhelmed, they being the SBA, because banks aren't taking applications, or they're limiting them, or they're saying if you got it after June 5th, we're not taking applications right now. Banks aren't overwhelmed. The SBA can't be overwhelmed with forgiveness. So I don't see there being any pressure on Congress. The director of the SBA, as well as the U.S. Treasury Secretary, have said, we're not for automatic forgiveness. It can lead to too much fraud. Now, is there any harm in waiting? No. Who should file now? Who should file now? If you're staring down haircuts because you can't maintain FTEs or salary reductions because you're making these business decisions to do that, maybe you should file now. But there are safe harbors if your business is declining, if you cannot keep the employees on board because you can't afford them, if you have employees leave, if you have employees that you cut for cause. So if you can't continue to do business the way that you were, you're financially strapped, you meet the safe harbor. So I think there's no harm in waiting. If for some reason you think you're getting a haircut, in the sense that maybe you need to get your application in so that your requirements end, that might be the one circumstance. So yes, I would appreciate it if banks would take the applications, but even the banks are saying, hey, let's wait. So the sentiment here is, and what I'm telling my clients is, we're waiting. With the payroll, under the 24-week option, you're able to collect more payroll. You're able to collect more rent and utilities and interest. To have this much of qualified expenses when maybe your loan is this, which makes it fly through. So why am I also bringing that up? That's old news. Well, that leads pretty much to automatic forgiveness as well. This is why I don't think the SBA is going to say, you know what, automatic forgiveness, you don't have to have anything in. Because with the 24-week option out of the PPP Flexibility Act, that was the whole point of it. So that we, or those that receive the PPP, would easily achieve forgiveness, full forgiveness, by having plenty of time to spend it on the payroll, rent, utilities, and interest. So for me, all of my clients are going to achieve full forgiveness. All of my clients are going to file the EZ. So automatic forgiveness doesn't mean anything to my clients. They're going to get forgiven anyways. All that we're saving is the paperwork, the time, the effort. Well, you're still going to need to do a calculation to determine if you receive full forgiveness, even if there is automatic forgiveness, because there'll be some caveat in there that if you determine that you have full forgiveness, then you're automatically forgiven. You still have to maintain the records. You still have to have the payroll. You still have had to spend it properly. So if you are waiting to see about automatic forgiveness before you spend it on payroll, rent, utilities, which I'm assuming if you have those things, you would just be spending that anyways. My point is that it's not going to just be automatic forgiveness as in it doesn't matter if you got less than 150, it's forgiven. It's going to still have caveats to it. So if you're waiting to spend it, don't. It was there and you took it and you promised and you qualified that you would be using this for payroll, rent, utilities, not for saving it. So if you received PPP and you never paid your employees, I don't think you're going to achieve forgiveness. If you got PPP based on paying 1099 individuals, you're not going to achieve even automatic forgiveness, in my opinion. You need to have still spent it on what it is that you're required to spend the money on. So if you have payroll, rent, utilities, and interest, you've spent it properly, you've exhausted your funds, I don't see any reason why you wouldn't want to just wait. Not so much for the automatic forgiveness per se, but maybe it is less paperwork. That's really all I see that we gain out of waiting to see about automatic forgiveness. It won't just be, in my opinion, still going to be something that you need to file, still going to need to be something that you're signing off on, that you use those dollars the way that they are meant to have been used. All right, hey, those are my thoughts. Thanks for tuning in. I'd love it if you'd subscribe, and then don't you ever forget, you've never met a CPA quite like me.